We're joined by senior Emily Waddell of the Gettysburg College women's track and field team. Although the Bullets competed in a meet back in early December, they start their season in earnest tomorrow at the Lehigh University Paul Covert Classic. Emily is an environmental studies major and a biology minor. She's also a team tri-captain this season. She's made her mark as one of the team's top sprinters and jumpers over the past 3 seasons. And as a sophomore, she helped lead the Bullets to the Centennial Conference outdoor title in the 4x400 meter relay. So welcome, Emily, and thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. So with practice starting back in October, you've had several months now to spend with the team. So what are your first impressions so far of the team? What do you think the team's biggest strengths will be this season?
So even though our season now is kind of fully taking off, we began practicing actually official practice late October. And but before the official practice, we actually had a few captains practices in September and early October. And I was so surprised at the number of first years who came out. And it made me really happy because they're all enthusiastic and we have a lot of fresh talent. So because of this, they're going to contribute a lot of depth, and depth is actually what makes a team great. We have throwers, we have hurdlers, we have a lot of horizontal jumpers and short sprinters, and a couple long sprinters as well.
I don't know if you've talked as a group about goals for this season. If not, what do you think some of the team's goals are going to be as you progress through the season this year?
So before every meet, we meet with our specific event coach. So the sprinters will go with one coach, the jumpers with another, and the hurdlers with another coach, and the throwers with their own throw coach. And we actually go over individual goals and then team goals as an event group. And so common responses are always no injuries and being close as a family, which is our number one kind of like team goal.
Well, you had a strong start to the season. We talked about the first meet back in December at the Franklin Marshall Invitational. You finished 4th in a field of 17 in the triple jump. So can you think back to that meet? It's been a while now, but can you talk a little bit about your performance at F&M and how you were able to finish as well as you did?
Sure. So I was actually very surprised by my finish since I hadn't last competed since outdoor conferences, which was early May. But basically what contributes to it is our event practices, which are every Tuesday and Thursday, where we focus on technique and we break the jumps down to their 3 different phases, and we go over them. It's basically all the repetition. So being able to repeat that in competition, I think led me to have a successful meet.
So far in your career, you've split your time really on the track and in the field. On the track, you've mostly been a 200 and 400 runner, sprinter on the track, and mainly you focus on the triple jump as a field competitor. So kind of splitting your time up between those events, do you have a favorite event? And if so, what would it be? Maybe not by your reaction.
I think I'm kind of tied between the 4x4 relay and triple jump. The 4x4 relay really allows you to get close with 3 other girls, and it makes the 400 less hard. It's one of the hardest races, so to have 3 other girls really cheering you on and then you being able to cheer them on, it really makes the race a lot less stressful and more fun. And I've always liked triple jump.
So, for those who may not be aware, can you talk a little bit about what goes on the scene, what goes on behind the scenes at a track meet for someone like you who competes in a lot of different events? So, you kind of have different events starting or going on simultaneously, and you might be getting a call to start one event while another event is also taking place. So I imagine it gets a little bit hectic for you sometimes trying to keep track of where you're supposed to be. Can you just talk a little bit about that dynamic of having to be in 2 places at once almost?
Sure. It all comes down to time management, which is what track and field has really helped me to kind of, perfect, because as you mentioned, there are a lot of meets where I have to triple, but also be on the track at the same time. So actually, at the F&M meet, I had to take 3 jumps really fast, out of order, so I could make my heat for the 200, and then immediately finishing the 200, I had to race back to the pit and take my 3 final jumps. So it can be kind of hectic, but it's totally worth it.
And I imagine it's something too that where you've been competing in track. Well, how long have you, since high school? So
yeah, I started my freshman year.
Yeah, so you've been doing this a while, so it's kind of becomes routine for you, I'm sure, at some point, even though it's probably a little bit unpredictable. Well, over the last 3 years, you had the opportunity to compete with really 2 of the best track athletes this school has ever seen in Katie Kavanaugh and Katie McCoubry. Kavanaugh was a tremendous hurdler who also competed along with you in the sprints, and you also competed with Katie McCoubry as a jumper and as a sprinter. What do you feel you were able to gain by competing with such an outstanding duo of athletes in your career, or some of the other talented athletes that we might have had here during your time?
They all taught me that it's very important to go 110% at practice, because if you don't give everything you have at practice, you're not going to compete that way. They've also taught me that you can be the best of the best, which I'm definitely not, but it's okay to have off days, and it's okay to be nervous before your event.
Well, we mentioned your conference title in the 4x4 relay back in 2015. Would you say that was a highlight of your career, or is there another moment that stands out for you? I know you've had a lot of success through the years and some great moments, both individually and as a relay member. So, I don't know. Looking back on your first 3 years, what kind of stands out?
I would say that conference in general stood out to me. I got my all-time PR in triple jump as a sophomore in outdoor conferences, and then I had about a 2-hour break, and then we went to the 4x4. And when we came in first, that was a real shocker for me. I remember we were all crying while also passed out on the ground. We were surprised because we were in the top 3 for the first 3 legs, and then Katie McCoubry passed, I believe it was Hopkins and Dickinson in the final about 10 meters.
So a classic come from behind win, which is always exciting. And the 4x4 is always the last event on the track, right? So it's always exciting to kind of go out with a victory like that. Yeah, and end your season. For a lot of you, that was the end of your season, I'm sure. So must have just been a super exciting moment. Can you talk about, we talked a little bit about this yesterday when Colin Berge was here, but a little bit about the dynamic of track and field having such a long season. You know, we've mentioned you start practice in late October, indoor obviously runs through January, February, and then the outdoor season goes through March, April, and May. So it's really, one of the longest sports seasons, I think, of any of the sports we have. So can you talk about how you're able to keep your focus and really stay on top of your game for such a long period of time?
Mm-hmm. So even though I'm a sprinter, I would say track is a marathon and not a sprint. We begin the season for sprinters usually working on our endurance, and then slowly as our season progresses, you obviously can't keep up those long reps for so long. So then we start focusing on our shorter sprints, drives, and form and technique.
We talked to Colin yesterday kind of about his story. Every athlete has a story. Every college student athlete has a story about what brought them here. So can you just touch on your story as a student athlete here? What brought you to Gettysburg? How did you hear about the school?
So I actually first heard about Gettysburg College through Daryl Jones. He's actually one of our track coaches as well for sprinters and hurdlers. He came to my high school, and it was he gave more of a talk, not on Gettysburg College specifically, but how to have the perfect interview. He was so funny, so I decided to check out Gettysburg College. But before that, I knew I wanted to stay close to home. I'm from DC. And I knew I wanted a good student-teacher ratio because I've attended small schools my entire life. And what solidified my decision with Gettysburg College was the Environmental Studies Department. They have great professors, and a lot of the students were involved with research, which was something that I knew I wanted to do as an undergrad.
Well, it sounds like it's been a great experience for you here at Gettysburg. Just great to hear. The last question I would have for you, you mentioned you're an environmental studies major. You also minor in biology. What are your plans for post-graduation?
So I plan to take a year off working as a lab tech in some type of aquatic ecology lab. As of right now, I have something aligned for the summer, but I'm waiting to hear back for something for the fall, and then I'll find something else for the spring, and then I plan to attend graduate school in the fall of 2018.
All right. Well, we want to wish you the best of luck, both this season and obviously beyond as you embark on your professional career. So thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it, Emily. So once again, Emily Waddell, senior captain from the women's track and field team. The Bullets resume their indoor schedule this Saturday when they compete at the Lehigh University John Covert Classic. So we'd like to thank you once again for following along here on Facebook Live this afternoon. You can actually watch the archive of this interview on the Gettysburg Athletics Facebook page shortly after the conclusion of this interview. So once again, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and go Bullets.